This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys, today we are going to discuss about the tablespace management in the Oracle database. Okay, first we will discuss about what is tablespace. Okay, and then we will discuss what are all the components inside of the tablespace and how we are going to use the tablespace, how we are going to create, how we are going to rename, how we are going to add a data file, how we are going to drop a data file, what is data file, we will learn that also. And also we will learn about how we are I mean what type of table spaces are existing in our database. Okay, totally we are going to learn it theoretically and lab session as well. So first, quickly we'll start. What is table space? Table space is a primary logic structure, like it is not physically existed. Okay, it's a logical one. As and when you are starting your database, you can say that mean if the table space is exist in your database, then only we can able to view that. Okay, how many table spaces we are having. So I can say table space is a logical structure. It is not a physical one of your database. Okay, storage, one of the logical structure of your storage. Okay, in general, in physically, if you want to call it about the table space will store the information in data files. Okay, these data files uh, are physically existed. I'll show you where the data files are stored. Okay, data files is nothing but the original data which is written or created in that specific database. Okay, so each data file is having original data, and also it is existing in the physically. So table space is that how the table space is defined. Okay, how the table space will looks like. I'll elaborate to you as I'll draw a structure. Suppose if we talk about this is a table space. Okay, this is a table space. It is not physically existed. It's a logical portion. This table space is holds the data inside the in format of data files, .dbf files, .dbf. If the file is existed with this .dbf, we call it as a data file, database file. F means files. These files are physically we can able to view it, but whatever the information, the table space name, we cannot view physically means, and the database is down, this db is down, we can able to see the data files, but we don't know the data file is belongs to which table space. So data file is a physical one, table space is a logical portion of your database. Okay. By default, when you install your database, you will by default, okay, as and when you install your database, you will get 5 table spaces. These are the mandatory table space we call it as. Okay. One is system table space, SYSTEM, and then second one is sysox, AUX, and third one is you can say undo table space. If I write TS means table space. Fourth one is user data or data. Okay, you can make a star on this part. And fifth one is temp table space. Temp table space. These 5 table spaces we will get as and when we install the database. Okay, I'll explain you what all the data will store the system table space, what mean which type of data will store the sysocs, what is the importance of these table spaces. Okay, if somebody will ask you in the interview, right, how many table spaces we will get by default when you install your database, you can say 5 table spaces. Okay, these 4 table spaces, system sysocs undo user data, we can view, we can see it by querying the tables dba underscore these information db underscore data underscore files view, you can see what all the data files which are there under these table spaces. If you want to see all the table spaces information, dba underscore table spaces, this is the view if you want to view it. We have another one if you want to see what are all the data attempt files under temp table space, whatever the data you will store, right, that information we call it as a temp files. If you want to view the temp, dba underscore, these are all dba views. Okay, dba, because these table spaces are maintained by the dba underscore temp underscore temp files. See, what are these are all under system sysops undo user data. We are storing the file ending with the data file name with dbf, something like that. Okay, it's a data file. So if you want to view also, you can view data underscore files, I think. And if you want to see specific temp table space information, what are all the data files, temp files, I can say temp, it's not a data, temp files, I can view db underscore temp underscore files. Okay, and also I'll elaborate it how the data, I mean, table spaces will exist in your database. Suppose it is a server. You can think about this is a server. Server means this one. Okay, server means, if you can think about this one, server name Rax Infotech. Okay, this is a server, Rax Infotech server. On that server, I have installed my database. I have installed my ps-ef pipegrep hmon. On the server, I have installed my database. In this database, okay, what is database? Exact definition is whatever the storage file, CRD files, parameter file, password file, and other files. Okay, all these physical files are the storage related files. We call it as database. So I have installed this database. If you want to access this database, you need an instance. That's where SGA and background process will come. This name it as instance. Okay, that forget it. On server, you have installed the database. On this database, I told you, right, if you install this database, you will get 5 table spaces. Table space will not exist physically, it is a logical portion. If you consider this is a table space, we can how this divide this table space in a smaller particles. Like the table space contains one or more data files. Single table space containing single data file, or else n number of data files. That is one thing. And also we have a segments. Okay, if you call it as a segment 1, segment 2, s1, s2, s3. Okay, these segments are what I can say is it's storage demanding objects. I mean, these segments continuous RL, I can say the segment 1 is holding some information physically, it will store something. Okay, what is the segment definition? Segment definition is the object, it will require some or demanding the storage or space. Examples, segments examples, tables, 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 index, and some other also temp segments, some other things in clusters, temp segments, etc. These are all storage or space taking objects. Okay, tables means if you want to create a table, create table name. Why we need to create a table? To store some information, some data. It requires some space. If you want to create an index, okay, what is index? If you want to fetch something, like you are going to read a book. Okay, if you have 10 chapters in this book, where you put, I mean, which chapter starts from which page to which page. If you don't have that course index in front, I mean, first page or second page of your book, that is very difficult to identify those chapters inside your book, right? Similar way, in a table space, this table space holding all the segments, like segments and data files, we call it as different files will be there, huge data will be there. If you want to identify, if you want to fetch a specific information from this table space, you have to create an index on top of that, specific to this table space. Then you can able to fetch that information to improve your performance. That is a separate scenario. Segment is nothing but it's kind of an object. That object will require some, or else it recommended, or it required some storage or space demanded objects. We call it as a segments. One or more segments if you continuously one or more segments are holding one table space. One table space can contain one segment or n number of segments. But one segment it will belongs to one table space. But one table space can have n number of segments. Okay, this is one thing. These segments are nothing but an objects, space demanded objects. We have other objects also. Those will not recommend, like those will not uh, what I can say, demanding the storage. Those will not require any. Those objects are not required for any storage. Those are views, synonyms, sequence, procedure. These are all, we call it as an objects, database objects. Table, index, cluster also object, but these are required the space demanding objects. These are non-space demanding objects. Okay, these are all objects only. Those objects, if you want to store somewhere in your database, though where we are going to store, those we are going to store under table space only. Table space is continuous segments, one or more segment, we call it as a table space. How, I mean, even this, if you want to define the segment, one or more extensions of your data blocks, more than, I mean, continuous extensions, extension 1, extension 2, extension 3, you will get confused. What is this? All the things and all. Simply, you can remember table space. The table space will internally having some structure, segments, extensions, and data blocks. Data block. Okay. In your database, you are having table spaces, right? One, mean, initially you are having 5 table spaces. If you want, as per your demanding in your organization, as per your request or usage, you can create n number of table spaces in your database. Okay, each table space it will internally holds the segments and extensions and also data blocks. Okay, this is the smallest part in your table space. Data block is the smallest part. As and when you are defining, the data block size is 2 power n size. 2 power n. If you mention 2 power 1 initially, when the database has been created, at that time you used every data block will store 2 kb initially. Okay, data block, it is the smallest part of your table space. Okay, continuous these db blocks or data blocks, we call it as extension. One extension, it will store 2 kb. Each block will store 2 kb. If it is 2 kb size of your data block, we will see this parameter also, we will set in our init parameter. Okay, parameter file, how, mean, what is your block size, db block size, initial one. By default I think it's now 8 kb. Okay, so 8 kb means each block will store 8 kb memory, like 8 kb size of the data. If you want to write a single name like rack infotech, if it is taking 2 kb information, it will store in a small part of this block. Okay, this block. So each block is having information like the block size and also header of the file. I said, right, check pointer will write the headers of the data files. Okay, that means each and every block is having 3 parts: block header and also free space, row data. These three informations are holding the block, single block. Okay, free space means if I want to write a rack infotech name, that will write under this part. But this rack infotech, as and when I want to fetch it from the database, right, it required one reference, right? Each transaction we have SCN number, if system change number, that information will write in your block free, this one, where I can say block header. So you can divide your data file, single data file, into 3 parts: block header and free space, and this one row data information. Row data, this is free space. Here you have block header. In this block header, what are all the information we stored here, right? That information will stored here. As and when you queried some information, select star from rack infotech. So that query rack infotech table space which is there, first it will go to that, and then there all the data files headers that will read that information, and it will fetch that information and give it to back. Leave it that part. Okay. So continuous data blocks, as I said, continuous data blocks, we call it as one extension. Okay, data blocks continuously. So one or n number of data blocks, we call it as extension. Continuous extensions, extension 1, extension 2, okay, extension 3, we call it as a segment. Continuous segments, segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4, we call it as a table space. Okay, so each mean in each database, minimum or mandatory minimum table spaces 5 when you create it. So this is the data which is stored in your database in this format. Clear? This is the data block. Okay, each data block is having, I showed you, right? Each data block is holding the name like block header, free space, and also row data. Whatever the information we are going to store, original data will store here. Here the information reference headers, the block header will store all the informations. Okay, clear? So now we are going to discuss about 5 table spaces. Okay, what the system table space will hold. Okay, system table space, as I said, it's important and also mandatory table space. This holds all the data dictionary information like base tables information like views, procedure, function, trick, package, everything. These are by default. Okay, by default the base information will hold the system table space. As and when if you want to create some views, some data, so that this information will, we can use it and we can create in our database. Okay, this table space you cannot rename it, you cannot, if you drop this means you cannot access your database, that is corrupted. You have to, if you have a backup, you have to restore it. Okay, it's a mandatory thing. And sysocs also similar, whatever the functionality system table space will do, it will do the same kind of one. It will share the load from the system table space and it will support the database. So it is also stored the metadata. Okay, and it will support the same way how the system table space will support us. And we have another one is undo table space. Undo means post image. Suppose undo table space will restore the post image information. Okay, post image is nothing but if some employee is there, his salary is 10,000. Okay, if you want to update his salary like 10,000 to 15,000, the 15,000 what is the original amount, right? That will store in your user table space. Okay, permanent one. The what is the old salary, 10k, right? 10,000, that will store in your undo table space. That is where we are using. Okay, we cannot create any tables or indexes or anything. If somebody will ask you, right, if you want to, if I want to create a data file, if I want to create any index or any normal simple table, not the table space, table is a one of the smartest part or else one segment in your table space. Table space is the big one, logical portion. Table is your one segment. Okay, clear? So we can create the tables or index or anything under user data or other custom table spaces, not in your system table space, not in your sysocs table space, not in your undo table space. Okay, each instance or each database required one undo table space in a standalone database. If it is a rack database, you can maintain 2 undo table spaces for each instance. Okay, temporary table space, as I said, it is required each instance we have, like each database we are having one temporary table space. Even though in your using rack also you can use the temp one, each instance also holding another one, like one instance holding one temporary table space, another instance will hold another temporary table space. Okay, but it required, if you want to maintain multiple, in real time we are maintaining multiple temporary table spaces, 1 or 2 3 according to our temp, how much temp we are utilizing, but it is not recommended by the oracle. Okay, that is one thing. What are all the information, why the main purpose of this temporary table space, it will use the sorting operations. Suppose if I want to generate my month end reports, it required lakhs and crores of rows, where that information temporarily stored. It will not store in my permanent data, I mean data, like user table space or data table space. So it required the sort operations, the temporary table space. This temporary table space will help us to store the temporary information for sorting. If you want to ordered by means if you want to store complete information. Suppose I'll tell you one example. Here in my database, right, I want to select employees, multiple employees, salaries, all employee salaries I required. So 2 lakhs rows has been defined. But okay, these 2 lakhs rows, if I want to fetch, I need a I need a huge space where I can able to get the output. Generally, I used to get from our my user table space. That I'll get it. Okay, where the temp will, whatever the information, the 2 lakhs rows temporarily it will stored here while it is fetching from the user table spaces. That temporarily it will store 2 lakhs information in the temp space, and then it will shows the client process, like user process it will throw. Another option, we have a 2 lakhs records is there, but I don't want all these 2 lakhs records. I required only 10 records, 10 employee salaries from this record. So this till we segregate this 10 records from this one order by or where class which we are using, at that time these 2 lakhs records will store temporarily here, and also as per that query the 10 records will stored in your database buffer cache. At that time the sorting operation is required, right, to sort the specific information if you want to sort it. So in this scenario also we required one space. That space we call it as a temp table space. So sorting operations and other things. Okay, but it is not for our real time data storage. Whatever the data users are going to create, right, that will not stored here, that will not stored here. It is in these four table spaces are uh, assigned for their duties. This is for post image information storing purpose only. This is temporary sorting operations and temporary information only. These two will store the base information and metadata and data dictionary informations, those information only. Where our original data will store, like whatever the information we are going to write it, where that will store, that will stored in your user table space. That table space we call it as a permanent table space. These are all permanent table spaces also. Okay, clear. These are also permanent, also mandatory table spaces. Where the data information will store, user data or data table space. That is where I mentioned earlier. I have noted down one of the table space marked as a star. Star means we should, that is the data, original data will store in your user data. Clear? That is our table space management or storage management part. So now we are going to learn practically in a lab session how we are going to manage our table spaces, how we are going to create a table. So also one more part I think I missed, two types of table spaces, mean different types. Like one is normal data, whatever I told, right, those are normal table spaces. Another one is their big data file or big file table spaces. This is different. This is different one. Big file means whatever I told till now, these tables, suppose I said like this is a user table space. Okay, user table space, this is the user table space. This table space is holding one or n number of data files. But in case of big file, right, it hold only one data file. It could be in terabytes, 1 TB, or it could be, I think some limitation is there, 120 or 126 TB terabytes we can store in a single data file, single big file. That is a big file. So that is there. If you are using certain kind of operations as per your this thing client or customer requirements, we can use the big file, but I never use these big files. I never worked such kind of environments. I worked only normal data files where we are using. This table space is having one data file with 30 GB size each data file. Okay, it depends. There is no limitation. Also, I think if you want to go with, you can go also. Even I saw like 31 GB maximum I used for each data file. Almost 120 data files in a table space. User data table space I used. Okay, custom table space is also there. So 120 into 30 gig. You can go within that way. Also, I have used different one. Okay, there should be some limitation for this data file. I don't think so how much it is, but usually I use it till 30 GB single data file. So in a user table space, if you are going with 120 or 180 data files, okay, inside of your table space it holds one or n number of data files. Each data file, if you make it 30 GB, that is fine. If you are going with 300 gig of each data file, right, to accessing this data file also, it is very difficult. If you are having multiple data files, then we can able to fetch the performance. Also, it depends on the size of your data files. That is also one matter. Okay, yeah, that is only one thing I missed. Like, that's it. Let me take a questions and then we'll proceed for lab session.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now we are going to start to create a table space in our database. Before that, we can see how many table spaces we are having. Okay, I have opened alert log also to monitor what happened to this. Okay, I have shut down. Let me relog in. Okay, as of now, my PDB is mounted. I need to start this one to open mode. Alter session, alter pluggable database PDB1. Open PDB1. Database name open. Open. See what is happening in the alert log. Alter pluggable database PDB1 open. The command has been entered in your SQL prompt. If somebody has entered drop table space, drop user, those information will are recorded in your alert log. That is where it is very important to monitor your alert log for any errors, for anything information. Okay. So show users. So I have connected as a sys user, and if you want to see, right, which container you are there currently, show con underscore con means container short name. So I was connected with the CDB root. It means CDB. It is not a PDB. So if you want to see how many PDBs in your instance, in your database, show PDBs. Okay, I'm going to create the table spaces in my PDB. Okay, for that I need to switch, right. Alter session set container equal to PDB1. Now, if I want to see con underscore name, it will definitely show you what PDB which you have. If you have suppose 100 PDBs, so there is no confuse, right? Which PDB we have connected, we have to check this. Clear. And then I'm going to perform the create table. Before creating the table spaces, I want to see how many tables, whether I have any big files is there or normal files are there in my DB. Let me check. Also, we'll open trace file also, right? Let me show you, maximize this. Let it. So this query is shown how many table spaces are there in my PDB database, PDB1 database. I have 5. Now I am going to, is this normal file or big file? Whatever we are going to create normally till now, those are normal table spaces or normal data files which we are going to create. This is a big file. Whether system table space is big? No. Users is big? No. If it is yes means it's a big data file or big table space related one. So we are not going to talk about this one. Now onwards, we are talking about normal table spaces. Okay. And then I'm going to create a table space. For that syntax, create table space name. Whatever you want to create, you can create data one, data two, and all. But we have to mention the path and the name of the data file. As I said, right, each table space, it is having one or n number of data files. First, I'm going to create a table space. It required at least one data file, at least it required. Otherwise, we can try with create table space name. Simply, we will try. What error we will get, let's see. Otherwise, if it is allowed, good. No, even I haven't tried earlier. Even I'm not remember or recalled. Let's see. Table space has been created, but there is no data file. See here, this one create table space name. Data one is my table space. Let me check whether it is shown in my DBA underscore table spaces. Without a data file, we cannot use it. This one, we cannot do anything. We cannot perform any activities in this table space because this table doesn't have the data files. How we can find it whether this table is having data files or not? We have another one view, select star from, I'm viewing star, I don't know renaming the columns of the table. DBA view data underscore files. It is showing different, right? If you want to view in GUI mode proper way, we have to use SQL develop. Here also you can test it first whether you connected with PDB or which one you have connected. Let me delete all, show users, enter. User is this, show PDBs, PDB one only. I haven't connected to CDB. So that is a correct session where I'm going to use. When you created, I think it is a Oracle managed file system, which I am going to use it. Data one, right? I think something happened to this. It is correct only. See here, if you haven't mentioned the, I thought it's a my system is locally managed file system. No, it's like Oracle managed file system, OMF. Oracle managed file system means if you want to create a data file, like the data file path, everything it will set it automatically. It will not ask you to set the path also. By default, it took and then it created the path for our data file. If it is a locally managed, we have to mention complete path like ASM file system. If you are using ASM file system, we have to mention the disk group, only disk group where your disk group data files are residing to. That is enough. And remaining till taken care by Oracle software itself, cluster software itself. The same way Oracle managed files, it will manage itself. Oracle, it will manage itself. If you want to give manually also, we will give the path also. I thought it is non-OMF files. It is a OMF. Might be it is a 19th feature by default. Okay. So I haven't mentioned the path also. It is automatically taken. Where is the session? Go this side. See, here it's shown already. Data one is having this much of size and it is automatically taken. That is fine. Even if you want to mention the data to file, I'm going to create another table space with the path and name also as per my convenient, data01.dbf with size of 50 MB auto extended. After 50 MB, it is filled up, right? If you mention if it is auto extended on or auto extended is off. If it is auto extended on this table space, next once if 50 MB is filled up, it will take 5 MB. From where it will take? It will take from your mount point, use your mount point. Okay, if this is recommended in your some of the environments where huge data files are there and huge data files we cannot manage it manually, we can use, but auto extended kind of one, it will eat your database storage. It is not generally not recommended, but some of the environments they are using auto extended table space data files. in their databases. But in my one of the previous environment, we used some of the table spaces auto extended, some of them we haven't used. Why? Because no, if keep on increasing the storage, as and when you are performing some deletion update portion of your data file, right, the free blocks will not used, as and when it is going to keep on increasing the size, unnecessarily storage waste, performance degraded. So make sure whether it is required or not, as per your environment you can go with that. Generally we can go with without auto extended mode. Now I am going to create one more table space with path I required, where my files are stored. Okay, this is stored in different racks db. These files are stored in path. This is the correct way I have to give. Okay, from this data files location, my data file needs to be stored. Name I have to give data 1. I'll give data 2. Now I'm going to create a new one, right? Let me give the command create table space name data 2. Okay, table space name I'm going to create data 2, and the data file name is db2, data2.dbf file. And how much size I want to mention, I'll give 10 m. In real time you can give 30 GB, 10 GB, according to that. That's it. I'll give only this much. I will not give my. Let me execute it. Table space data2 has been created. Okay, in this path, let me query the table space data files location. See, whatever I have created, that is created in a proper path. This is different path. I don't know why it is taken internally. The data 2 was stored where your system sysocs undo and user data files are stored. If you want add, here it is showing only one data file, right? If you want to add another data file to this table space, we can add it also. Let me show you that also. As of now, I shown how to create a table space, I mean data files, or how to create a table space. Both are same. So now I'm going to add, okay, add a data file. Okay, I'll let me do from here. Users table space, right? Alter database data. If that's where, if you want to copy paste, that will work out. Alter table space. If you want to alter specific data file, that we can use. Alter table space. Mention table space name users. I'm going to add one more data file. In this table space, we have only one data file. I'm going to add one more. Users and data file. The path of this complete. We should not mention the file name. It will overwrite. That is issue. We have to make sure the naming conversion also. Okay, user add data file. Data file name I can give user user d1 dot dbf extension. Okay, size I can give 10 m. I don't want to give much. Okay, let's see. Alter table space name add data file. I'm going to add this data file user data one, that is not there here. Okay, let me add it. Once I have added user users table space is having two data files at that time. Till now one I have added. Let me query the data files one. See, users table space is having another data file. Similar way you can add it. Okay, even for system table space also you can add it. Why? Because we have initial, but it is for only system specific. Okay, the data, it should not be user data, should not store in your system sysocs undo. Users data, it should store in your user table space or data table spaces, whichever you are going to make it. If you want to rename your table space, suppose, that also we can do it. Suppose some applications are using specific table space name they required. BI applications are there. If they want to identify their table space in this database, we created as initially as data2 for BI, but it's difficult to identify which table space is related to which application. So at that time, if you want to rename it, you can rename this data2 to BITS, BI table space. This one you can make it EBS table space. You can make it different name. That also possible. Okay, if it is not required, you can drop it also. drop table space name. That is also possible. So till now what I have shown data files only, right? We have another table space temp that is not showing here. Why? Because I haven't I queried only DBA data files. If I query DBA temp files, temp table space will come into the picture. So start from DBA underscore temp underscore files. This will show you your temp. If you want add extra temp table space, you can do it. Create temp table space. That also you can create table space we mentioned, right? Create temp table space name, and then you can make it as it is, like the temp table space you can create in that way. I showed you, right, big table space. As of now we don't have a big table spaces in our database. Select star from dba underscore table spaces. We don't have big table space. These are all normally stored. We have a query, right, which I executed initially. This one, dba underscore table spaces, proper query. I mean, I have read it completely, but we need to read this one somewhere. The same view only. See, it's a big file is not, I mean, whatever I have created, data one, data two also, normal one. And also the table spaces are online. If it is offline means we cannot access, read these table spaces. That also we need to check. So now I'm going to create a big table space or big file table space in our PDB. Big table space data file. I have to give the path, right path. Mm, let me take, we have to mention, we have to carefully, okay, as and when you are going to perform arm backup, at the time also if you are mentioning different parts, it is very difficult to identify and take the backups. I'm going to take, I'm not mentioning for any auto extensions, okay, I'm giving direct ones. Auto extension will take it up similar way, just you can mention auto extension, that will take it up internally. So I'm giving 1 GB is waste, no, 100 MB instead of 10 M, I am giving 100 M. End of this number, if you mention M means it considered as MBs. If you mention G means it will consider as a GB. If you consider, if you mention T means it will take terabytes. I mention M means MBs only. So now I'm going to create a big file, tablespace big TS created. Let's see now. See, eighth table space is created. If it is not a big file, it no will come. If it is a big file, yes. I can, without adding another data file to this table space, I can resize this one. Okay, 100 M, right? I can resize it to 200 M. How we can resize? Not only for that, any table space, if you want to resize, you can use alter database data file location and resize. Alter database data file, the file location you can mention complete file location with the name on single quote. Inside of size you can mention resize. How much? 200 M. And make a note on this, if the file is already 100 M, if you want to reduce that, if already data is there, okay, that is very difficult to reduce the size of the data file. Okay, make sure don't go with lower value. If you want to resize, go with a higher value. Yep, it is 200 M now. Okay, in this way if you want to mention you can go with, if I want to go with 50 M now, why? Because I'm sure, right, I haven't written any data inside of this one. I can go with, if data is there something, it will throw an error. You cannot do the lower value whatever the table space is or data file is having. So lower value I have mentioned. If you want to drop a table spaces, you can drop it also. We'll see that. And how we are going to make default table space means if you are going to create a user, okay, suppose in my database I don't want to use my user table space as a default table space. Okay, users is my default table space. I don't want this as a user table space. I need whatever I have created here, right? User D1, data 2, I want data to as my default table space. Whatever the users, whatever the information I'm going to create, that will store on your default table space. I want to, if you want to change, you can change it to data to as well. Let me change it. That also we have alter command that I haven't mentioned that we can perform. No issues. And another way, like temp table spaces also, we can use all these things. How we can make your table space online and offline. That is normal way only. Suppose rename also I shown, right? Let me take you DB underscore table spaces. Another one is this one. It will show you online offline. Now I'm going to make my data to file offline. Let me take it from here only. Alter table space data to offline. See, the table space is altered, and also I forgot to mention the alert log. Alert log, see, altered data with this table space offline. You mentioned whatever we have added, big file created, another file is created. Everything is noted in your alert log. It resides in your diagnostic path and trace location. Under in the trace location, you have alert log file. Okay, you have to monitor that. Okay, let me show you that. No, whether it is online or offline. When we are going to make your table space offline and online, if something, if data is, if you want to do some restore and recovery, some data is missed in this table or this table space. If you want to restore this specific table space, at that time you can make your table space offline and restore your data, and after restoration is completed, then you can make online. Okay, I'll make online again, same command only. See, offline, online. That's it. Now it is offline. I have make it online now. Online. Rename is missed, right? Alter table space. Some rename. Okay, no issues. I'll check that. Yeah, here it is. Alter table space name, rename to this one. See, suppose if I want to rename my data to BITS. Okay, let me mention data to. I don't want this table space name. I want to make it BI table space. Completed. Let me check. I don't, if data 2 will not be there. See here, BITS. We can make online. Okay, earlier, no, earlier versions and all, if you want to rename, I think it is not there. Since 10G, it is there. At that time, you need to make offline and offline this table space and rename it and then remake it online. That is the way. Now we can make online of your table. I mean, do your table space rename when the table space is online. That is also done. Yeah, temporary table space also similarly we can do it. We can create another temp table space if you want to create. We can create it. Let me check. That concludes complete session demo, right? So I want to create another temp file, temporary table space. I want to make it temp2, temp2. Even temp file also we make it as .dbf extension. This is just an extension, okay? That is not this one. Temp is there, temp table space. I want to make it temp2 instead of temp1. I mentioned temp2. I'll create temporary table space name and the path where the temp file needs to be stored, and the size of the file, size 10 m. I don't want to give much. What is saying? Create temporary enumerated operation online offline, force retention in shared temporary table space. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. One of the valid options online, offline, force retention in shared. Invalid options. Yeah, it is something like we need to make existing one offline and then we need to try. That is different. I need to look into this as well. Okay, we can create that temporary table space and then we can make it as. Yeah, till now do we have any questions? Then I'll take a questions and then we can conclude the session for today.